All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Dave Greathouse, Remax Above and Beyond, and the Greathouse Team here in Cleveland. And today we are talking pre-approvals, mortgage pre-approvals, and who better to jump on with us and discuss the benefits of the pre-approval world than our trusted lender, Matt Nelson with Cross Country. Matt, how's it going?
Pretty good, David. How about yourself?
Good, man. I've been getting a lot of first-time home buyers, which is awesome. And inevitably, I think the first conversation that comes up is, hey, should I get pre-approved prior to looking at houses? And my answer is typically yes, right? We want to see where you guys can start looking, but wanted to hear it from your mouth. I guess you deal in that world a lot more than I do about what that process looks like, why it's important, et cetera. So I figure we can just start there. Should buyers, first-time home buyers or not, get their pre-approval out of the way prior to looking at houses?
Yes. In my opinion, it's the most important thing you're going to do. One, when you get pre-approved, you're going to get that piece of paper from me, or you're going to get whatever lender. It's going to give you the amount that you're pre-approved for. Also, it's going to let you know what you should be looking at. I mean, I don't want you looking with Dave at a $300,000 house. You call me up, you're just like, all right, Matt, I'm ready to go. Let's get pre-approved. And I tell you what the monthly payment's going to be. And then two, I'm like, you can't afford that. So not only did you fall in love with that $300,000 house, now I more or less got to piss you off and tell you that you're only going to be pre-approved for like 200. And so, I mean, that's just it's going to leave a sour taste in your mouth with buying a house. So, I mean, if you get pre-approved first, you have an idea what you should be looking at. You're going to have an idea what your monthly payment's going to be. So that way you have a good idea of where you stand when you're buying a house.
Yeah. And it works the other way in some cases where you might be able to afford more house than you originally thought, right?
Very true.
I had that happen.
Exactly. You might be looking at a $250,000 house when then I tell you what the monthly payment is on a $350,000 house, and you're just like, huh, I had no idea I could get pre-approved for that much. So yeah, and it puts you in definitely a different area for sure.
And one of the advantages that I've seen is, especially when it comes to, okay, I found this house that I really love and I want to make an offer, but I don't know what the payment's going to be. And so when you have the pre-approval done, you have your interest rate, you can then send that address to a lender like Matt and say, hey, what would my payment be if I offered him 300 versus 285, and see the difference in payment, right? And hey, if I put this much down, what's my payment going to be? You have so much more knowledge and the ability to make a better decision because you know those numbers up front.
Exactly right. I tell people that all the time, whether it's going to be before they go see a house with you, whether they see the house and then they're just like, yes, I want to put an offer in on that house. Just give me the asking price and the address. I'll look up the taxes, estimate the homeowner's insurance for you. The PMI, if you're not putting down 20%, you guys are going to have your monthly payment within a few bucks.
Yeah, that's huge, especially here in Cleveland. And I'm sure in other areas where there's a discrepancy in taxes, because like a $250,000 house in Cleveland is probably going to have a lower payment than a $275,000 house in Shaker Heights.
Exactly right. No doubt about it.
That's a good point to know, like, what's that payment going to be, and not necessarily just judge it based on that purchase price. All right, cool. So we agree that it's super important to get pre-approved first. So let's talk about the process. Is it like difficult? Do I have to drive to your office and bring a boatload of documents and wait for 3 years to get a pre-approval letter?
Process is not difficult at all. You give me a call on the phone. All I'm going to ask for is your name as it appears on your driver's license, your date of birth, your social, your current street address, and your employer and how much money you make per year. You tell me that stuff, I will have you pre-approved in, let's just say 10 to 15 minutes.
Oh, 15 minutes. All right. So that's not terrible.
I try to make it fast and easy because I know that people want answers and they want them quick. So I try and do that.
And I think it's a misconception for a lot of people is they think, okay, I have to drive down to a bank. I need to bring all of my W-2s and statements and all this other stuff. And I think that, yeah, you're going to need those documents at some point in the process. But up front, you don't necessarily have to do all of that. Have your basics in mind, and then a lender like Matt can give you a pretty good idea as to your qualification or not.
Yeah, the only thing that if they do not tell me the truth on how much money they make, let's just say that they make
Right.
they say they make $80,000 a year, and when I see their W-2s, it's $50,000 a year. Well, at the end of the day, the only person that you're hurting is yourself
Yeah.
because you're just wasting your time, and I
Yeah.
guess you're wasting Dave's time as well. So, I mean, just be honest with me. I'm on your side. I'm on your team. So, I mean, just be honest with me, and I will get you out a pre-approval letter for whatever you can afford.
So should home buyers shop it around? Should they talk to 3 lenders, 4 lenders?
I would for sure. I mean, you're buying $100,000-$200,000 house. That's a lot of money, man. And who knows? You might not get along with me. And other places have other programs. I mean, there might be some place that can offer you a down payment assistance, or the interest rate might be a little bit better. But I mean, I'm not saying that I can do every single loan. So I mean, feel free to shop it around. And at the end of the day, I like to think that cross country itself is going to sell itself, and my customer service is going to win me over.
Yeah. And I know you've done that in the past with some people that I've sent over to you that you've even said, like, look, I want to work with this buyer, but I would be doing them a disservice if I didn't tell them about another program that a competitor of mine offered. That always kind of stuck with me. It made me feel comfortable recommending you to other folks. So, and I encourage people to shop that around, right? That's what they should be doing. Like you said, it's a big purchase, likely the biggest purchase they've ever made. Why would you not get 3 or 4 opinions on, your mortgage? So, excellent. And I would assume that the process is very similar to most lenders, right?
Yeah, I would think so as well. I mean, I don't work for the other lenders, but I would think that their process is going to be the same. I would say not to have a ton of people do hard pulls on your credit.
Yeah.
That is one thing that I only do a soft pull, so it's not going to hurt your credit rating or anything like that. I know a lot of places don't have that functionality that they can just do soft pulls and get what they need. Cross country does, and so I do a soft pull and get you pre-approved with that.
Okay, cool. And since you brought that up, like credit, right? I know a lot of times people are uneasy about talking about their credit score. And I get that, man. It's a personal type of a thing, but it's important. You need to know what it is, and you need to know how it affects your ability to get approved for a mortgage or a car or any of that stuff. So I know we've run the gamut, man, between like perfect credit and way less than perfect credit. But I've been super impressed by your ability to get folks, even that had less than perfect credit. I'm talking like maybe high 5s, low 6s, and put them on a plan to get them approved for a mortgage. So if you can talk a little bit about like credit scores, and you don't have to go into too much detail as to what you need to have, but like how that process works. You said it does affect a little bit when you do a soft pull, but the ability to kind of work with people from all different types of credit scores.
Yeah, first off, never be embarrassed about your credit. I've seen the lowest of the lows, and I've seen the highest of the highs. So if you have a 480 credit score, whatever, man, who cares? Let's get you on a plan to where you're going to be able to buy a house in a year. I mean, you have to have a plan. So yeah, I mean, 580 credit score is basically what FHA will go down to, with just putting the minimum down of 3.5%. If you have a 580 credit score, they're going to want some reserves. You're going to have a 401k. You're going to have to, not that we're going to use that money, but they're going to want to see a lot of reserves compared to if somebody has a 750 credit score. That person is just going to have the minimum in the bank, and then they'll be fine. Now, if you have a 570, 560, you can still buy a house. You just have to probably do a manual underwrite, and you'll have to put down 10%. I know that usually if you have 10% to put down, your credit score probably wouldn't be a 560.
Right. Good point.
But if you can pull it out of a 401k or something like that, we can use that money. That is seasoned money that we can use as an asset for you.
Okay.
So, I mean, typically we like to see around a 640 or something, though.
What, maybe you can't answer this, but like when I apply for a mortgage, like with you, like a pre-approval, how much of an impact does it have to my score?
You know what? I've heard wide ranges of it, to be completely honest with you. I've heard it's dropped the score 8 points.
Okay.
Some people will be like, it's dropped me 20 points. I mean,
It's not huge.
I'm not exactly sure.
It's not going to make or break you're going to get approved for that loan.
No.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So that was my question. And you know, to your point about not being embarrassed about credit, listen, in my late 20s, I went to buy a couch and I got turned down because of credit.
It must have been a really nice couch.
And it was one of those things. I may have been in my mid 20s. It was like $4,000. It wasn't like it was that big, but it was like a whole furniture set for a new apartment and all this other stuff. But, you know, at that age, I didn't know how to build credit. I didn't understand the importance of lines of credit and paying them off. And it wasn't so much that I had bad credit. I just didn't have enough credit. And so, you've done this with some buyers I know where you're like, okay, look, here's our solution. We got to pay these two things off. Once you pay these two things off, we wait for a new credit score. You should be good. Like I've seen people to where they weren't qualified, especially with you. I'm thinking of some people, and you know, I don't want to name their names, but where, okay, I'm not ready, but do this and this. And in 2 months, we were able to get them approved for a loan. They bought a house. So it doesn't have to be a year or 2 years to where you have to repair your credit. It could be a month. It could be a few weeks. Right?
Exactly right. So basically, we have a thing it's called a rapid rescore. If I tell you to pay down your Capital One to $500, you get me what your new payment or your new balance is on your Capital One card. I send it to the credit bureaus. Doesn't cost you any money. We're taking care of it. And I am going to rapid rescore your credit, and we'll pull your credit again in 3 days. You'll have a new score.
Cool. Awesome. All right. So I get pre-approved. I start buying a house, or I'm starting to look at buying a house. And as we both know, it takes some time to find houses. So how long does a pre-approval last?
90 days.
Okay.
And then as long as you didn't open up any new credit, you didn't miss any payments. And again, this is all about just being honest with me. If you did open up new credit or something like that, I would expect you to be like, well, Matt, I did open up new credit. Well, I would do a soft pull again on your credit to make sure that the ratios match up accordingly. But if you didn't open up anything and everything remains the same, I'm just going to get you out a new pre-approval for another 90 days. Okay. So it's painless.
Gotcha. And that's important because if you're considering buying a house, most people are like, hey, in a couple of months, I want to buy a house. Maybe it's January and I want to buy a house in the spring. Well, that gives you 3 months to not have to do that process again. And that's usually about the time, I think, at least I've found. I mean, there's been some people that have taken a year to find a house, but you know, a few months, that pretty much says I'm pretty serious about buying a house. Yeah. And if they don't find it in 3 months, which can happen, like you said, that process isn't that hard to just get a new letter out.
That process is not difficult at all. I'm not going to make anybody jump through a bunch of hoops to get a pre-approval letter. Yeah. You be honest with me, give me what I need. I'll have it to you in 5, 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah. So just to kind of, I guess, recap and wrap things up. I mean, hopefully people can understand it's not that difficult, but they also need to understand why it's so important. And one of the things that I'll mention is, you know, time is important to buyers, and it's important to agents as well. And it's important to loan officers. Like, all of us are busy. And so, you know, I think when people call us from like, hey, I want to see these 5 houses before being approved. And some agents might say, well, get me a pre-approval letter. We're not being insensitive. We understand that you are interested and excited about seeing houses, but, you know, we have to manage our time effectively too. So let's not waste each other's time, right? Let's do things the right way. Let's get that 10, 15-minute process out of the way. And then we can really hone in on where do we want to start looking and the price points. And that way we're not wasting a bunch of time, because again, I don't know if you're anything like me, but I don't have a lot of time to waste. So if we can just do this, get pre-approved, it's so easy. The advantages are so many. There's so many advantages, right? So I'll let you have
And
the last word.
Dave, I don't mean to cut you off. I want to say this though. To his point, you're going to look at, let's just say you're going to look at 5 houses. That's going to be a Saturday or a Sunday. Somebody's Saturday or Sunday is pretty important to them. Whether it's me going to look at the house or Dave going to show the house, it's going to take probably, my guess, depending on where the houses are, 2 to 3 hours. Yeah. See 5 houses, drive all around to go see them. Well, it makes sense to give me a 5-minute phone call. That's all it's going to take.
Yeah.
And you guys will know what you should be looking at. And maybe that 5 houses turns to 3 and everybody's not spinning their wheels and wasting their time.
Yep.
All right, I'm done. I'm done now.
No, you're good. You're good. I appreciate it. So yeah, it's an easy process, but it's super important. It should be one of the very first things you do prior to meeting with an agent, or maybe you've talked to an agent and they've recommended you some lenders. That's fine as well, but get it done. Let's understand where we're at financially, and let's attack it and find you your great house, as I like to say. So Matt, I appreciate you jumping on with us as always. You're a wealth of knowledge in this area. So appreciate you. I'm going to put a link to your information in the description box below so they can reach out to you to get pre-approved. And of course, guys, all of our information will be in the description box below. We would love it if you'd consider subscribing to the channel. We do a lot of cool videos like this. And so I think you'll enjoy the content that we put out. So again, all of our information down below. Reach out to us directly when you're ready to buy your great house.